We are on Pesachim, Perek Yud Mishnah Aleph. The last Perek of Masechet Pesachim is called Arvei Pesachim, the lights of Pesach, and it deals with the things that we're most familiar with, which is the night of the Seder as we understand it. So I think the initial reaction of people is to say, "Ooh, finally something relevant. We've learned all these prakim about things that we don't really have association to." The first chapter talked about B'dikat Chametz and Biro Chametz, and then we had 8 chapters of Korban Pesach, and now finally something relevant. But I think that you have to sort of switch your attitude. And what the Mishnah is trying to convey is how significant, how fundamental the experience of Korban Pesach was to the observance of Pesachim, of Pesach. So our highlight is, our essence is getting rid of Chametz. It's 2 prakim, 2 chapters out of 10, which is 1/5. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda Nasi understood how significant the Korban Pesach was in the observance of Pesach. So he made it almost 8 chapters out of Masechet Pesachim. So I always think, I very much focus on our Seder, on this issue, on what's missing. The Korban Pesach is missing, and I believe that the Seder was designed in that way. And I believe Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, in the designing of the structure of the Mishnah, also believed that. That's why he gave such prominence to the issue of Korban Pesach in the Mishnah and in the Gemara, of course. And the last parak, which is more, I would quote unquote fun, more relevant. That's just a small percentage of what Pesachim is all about. Says the Mishnah, Arvei Pesachim, the eve of Pesach, samuch lemincha, close to mincha, lo yochal adam ad shetachshach. You shouldn't eat until the nighttime. So what is samuch lemincha? Look at the Bartanura. Kodem lemincha me'at kamo chatzi sha'ah. A little bit before mincha, which half an hour about, which is betchilat sha'a asiri, the beginning of the 10th hour. Why? The tamid karei b'teisha umechza. The korban tamid. Let's go back. We've learned this before in previous Mishnah in Parakeh, apparently. Okay, this is our chart during the day. Okay, this is mincha gedola, 6.5 hours. Okay, mincha ketana is 9.5 hours because that's the time, 9.5 hours that a normal korban tamid was offered. Korban tamid shabein harbaim was always the last korban, except at Erev Pesach, when they offered the Korban Pesach after the Korban Tamid. So that's 9.5 hours, halfway into the 10th hour. So a little bit before that, half an hour before that, is the beginning of the 10th hour. That's when you should stop eating. Okay? Why? Lo yochal adam. So you shouldn't eat until night. Kadesh yochal matzah lete'avon. Because there's a mitzvah, mishum hidur mitzvah. When a person eats matzah, he should be hungry when he eats matzah. Okay? So you shouldn't. So what can't you eat? Lechem pshita de lo matzah. You can't eat bread. Because chametz asur mishay sha'ot umala. You can't eat bread because that's asur. Umatzah nami ha'arminan b'Yushalmi. You also are not allowed to eat matzah because we learned ha'ochel matzah be'erev Pesach. Person who eats matzah on erev Pesach keba ala rusato bebeit chamid. It's like sleeping with your betrothed in your father-in-law's house. They would meet and they would do the erusin in the father-in-law's house, and then they would go home and prepare for a year before the nisu'in. It's like, you're not ready yet. It's not the proper times. The same thing is true about somebody eating matzah on Erev Pesach. We even are more machmir. We don't even eat it till 2 weeks before. Many people have a minhag from the beginning of Nisan. Therefore, it's relevant. It's necessary to teach us other foods. So what do you eat on Erev Pesach? Potatoes, meat, more meat, vegetables, plenty to eat. Don't fill yourself up once you come to 9.5 hours. Next halacha. Even the most poor people shouldn't eat unless ad sheyasev, until he leans. Why? As we all know, okay, kederech b'nei chorin, like free people. This is all based on Chazal's perception, the understanding in their time of the Roman, I guess it was Roman Greek, that they would lean. That's how they would eat. And a person who is free doesn't eat like the way we eat, but they would sit on couches and they would eat. So therefore, that's the way a person had to sit, and it's enshrined in halacha. That's how we sit during the meal. Interestingly, we do the ritual things we do. We eat the matzah leaning, we drink the wine leaning. I have yet to meet a person who I know about that they eat their shulchan aruch when they're leaning. Interesting. V'lo yivchatu lo me'arba kosot shel yain. You can't have less than 4 cups of wine. Va'afilu mina tamchui. The tamchui is the communal collection. And the halacha is that a person who is very, very poor, anu sheba aniyim, the poorest of the poor, eat from this tamchui. As we learned, Digna Mesechet Peah, mish yesh lo mazon shtei seudot lo yitom min tamchui. This is the soup kitchen of the community. They have this tamchui, and it was for the neediest of the needy. If you have less than 2 meals worth of food in your house, then you take from the tamchui. Even someone who takes from the tamchui, he has to eat arba kosot, as we've learned, keneged arba lashono shel geula, in the Parshat Vayira, ve'utzeiti, ve'itzalti, ve'ga'alti, ve'lakachti. That's the minimum of 4 kosot. Even the poorest of the poor have to have these 4 kosot on the night of Pesach. Stop here and dedicate our learning to memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Have a good day.